Easter is everything to Christians. For on Easter Sunday, we celebrate the resurrection of Christ, our Savior, from death to life. The symbolism of Christ emerging from a cold, dark tomb into the full light of day through the resurrection gives hope to us all. This Easter, all over Europe, Christians will gather for public worship to celebrate the resurrection of Christ, yet in Ireland the churches will be closed. Tragically, over this last year, we have seen the loss of many lives through COVID. Many people are hurting and grieving the loss of their loved ones. In Christian Voice Ireland, we acknowledge and appreciate all that the government have been doing to protect life. We will continue to pray and honor our government as the Bible commands us. But respect and honor must go both ways. We recently sent a letter to our government, signed by over 220 pastors and ministers, asking some very simple questions, namely, what evidence exists to show that churches or other places of public worship have contributed to the spread of COVID? And what evidence exists to show that gathering for public worship has affected the R number? And even if this were the case, why have countries all over Europe, including secular republics like France, continued to allow churches to meet for public worship? Churches in Ireland didn't open last Easter. Understandably, we were in a place where we didn't fully understand the nature of the disease, and as the church, we wanted to play our part in being responsible citizens and protecting the lives of our neighbors. However, now that we're a year down the road, we're calling on the Irish government to reopen the churches so that we may safely gather for worship. We have a proud history of Christianity in our nation, over 1,500 years in fact. Patrick brought the gospel to this nation in the 5th century. As Christians, we simply cannot countenance the possibility of our churches being closed for a second Easter in a row. The tombs open and yet the church is closed? No. And we appreciate that there are those for whom church attendance isn't a possibility due to pre-existing conditions or preference. That's perfectly fine. Stay home. But there are thousands of believers all over this nation who want to safely return to public worship, and thus we're calling on the Irish government to reopen the churches. All over Europe, churches are open for public worship, yet in Ireland they continue to remain closed. This is a serious undermining of our religious freedom, and we are calling on the Irish government to allow us to safely open for public worship. Jesus Christ arose from death and despair on Easter Sunday, and we're calling on the government to allow Ireland to arise from the darkness and despair of this season to celebrate the resurrection of Christ our Savior on Easter Sunday, as Christians have done for the last 2,000 years, and as believers have done on this island for over 1,500 years. As the church, we have demonstrated that we have the ability to meet safely for public worship. As pastors and ministers, we have written a number of letters to the Irish government for whom we will continue to pray and respect and honor, but to date we have not received a satisfactory answer to our request. Please pray that freedom of worship will be returned to our land, and please pray that we'll be free to gather for public worship this Easter. As I finish, may I ask you to contact your local TD and give them a very simple message. Reopen the churches for Easter. God bless you.